Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Abby and we're kicking off Halloween 2020 with this video of how to make these really cute candles, these mini candles. This was created by Tami, who plays well with paper on Instagram. She also has a blog where she shows you step by steps on how to create some awesome things. She does a lot of creations for Tim Holtz and his products. So this is how I first learned about these cute little candles. So I asked her if it would be okay if I created a video for you guys, and she was all for it. So here I'm going to be showing you guys how we can create these candles. These ones here are unfinished, so I wanted to show you that you can create all these different sizes. You can also put them on the little skulls, the Tim Holtz skulls, and other little things. Anything that you can really think of, you can create like this drippy candle, which are super duper neat. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me go over the different items that you're going to need. I just use scrap paper, 12 by 12 scrap paper. I definitely recommend doing 12 by 12. You can do different widths of the paper, and this will depend on the height of your candle. So this is just up to you. For my taller ones, I go about 1.5 inches. And then for the ones that are a little bit more spent, quote unquote, like they're a little bit more drippy, these ones are about 1 inch. And then I can go even smaller than that. Here's about 1.5 inches, or actually, sorry, 3/4 of an inch. And then the smaller ones, I do little less than 1/2 inch. Those are the ones that I put on top of the skulls. Of course, I cut those smaller. The width of the candle is going to depend on the length of your paper. So you can make these as chunky as you want or as thin as you like. I generally go the 12 by 12 for the width of my candle. So 12 inches here. If you wanted it to be a bit skinnier, you're going to definitely want to be smaller in the length of your paper. So if you have the smaller candles, all you have to do is put that 12 by 12 paper, fold it in half, and cut that, and that's going to help you make sure that your little candle isn't too chunky, a little bit skinnier, because the smaller you go, the less of a length of a paper you need. The other things that you're going to need is some cord here, or just some twine. This is what's going to create the little wick for your candle, and I use this very thin. Here it shows you the different widths of it. I believe it's 12.5 millimeters. This is from Bead Landing from Michaels, and this is what I use for the wick of my candle. Next, I highly recommend this tool. It's a crease and curl tool. It helps kind of like break down some of those fibers from the paper, so it's easier to curl. You don't need it. You can honestly use the side of your table, the side of a book to create that curling, but it is very helpful if you have one. This is by David Tutera from Sizzix, or you can use a brush. So I'm using just a little tiny brush that I have to help me curl my paper. So honestly, you don't need the tool, but it is very helpful. So you're gonna curl that paper up, start working, breaking apart those fibers so it makes it easier for you to work with. And next, I'm gonna go over some other tools, some other items that you're gonna need for these candles. Of course, you're going to need a glue gun with lots of glue sticks, and this is what we're going to use to create that drippy look on the paper. You're going to need some acrylic paint. I use brown and white paint. I have a skin tone one, but you can use brown paint, and this is just my technique. If you look at Tami's blog, you can see other techniques, but I find that I just wanted to use what I have in my craft room. And then you're also going to need a lighter. Not necessary, but I like the lighter because it creates that kind of like used wick look on it. You can also paint that on, but I also like the authentic of using a lighter on there. You're gonna need some glue. I use Verily Arts Precision Craft Glue to just kind of put together my cylinder for the base of my candle. You're also gonna need a heat embossing gun, and this isn't necessary, but it's what creates that finished look. So it's very cohesive. You don't have any bumps or anything like that. So you kind of heat up the glue again to make it very smooth and very natural for the drip of the candle. I also use some vellum, but you can also use cookie sheets, so that way it's easy to remove the candle. I leave the vellum at the bottom. I just kind of cut it around. I don't have any bake paper, so you can use some vellum. And in order to protect your table when you're using the heat gun or anything like that, if you want to make sure, I use a little cutting board, but whatever you have to protect your surfaces from the heat that you're going to be applying to it from the heat embossing gun. So if you have like a glass tabletop or anything like that, you don't have to worry. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Tami starts by gluing the cord or the wick on there. I kind of leave a little bit of an opening, so I curl my paper. I start by folding the edge very, very small, and makes it easier for me to get a really tight curl. Remember, it's up to you how wide you want your candle. You can cut it at this point, or you can keep going and using the entire length of 12 inches, which is what I do here. And then when I'm at this point, that's when I use my glue to seal off the end. Just a little bit of glue here, and I hold it for it to dry here a little bit. Once that's nice and dry, that's what I love about the Bearly Arts glue. It dries really, really quickly. I'm going to use my scissors to widen up the hole in the center, and this is where I'm going to feed the cord or the wick through the center of my cylinder. With Tami, you already have this glued on. I find this easier for me, and I'm going to set up my workplace, put my vellum down, and I'm going to add a good amount of glue at the bottom. By doing that, I'm also sealing in the cord, and it creates this really cool effect as if the wax is kind of like building up at the bottom of the candle. Now we're going to start creating the drips of the candle, and the way you do this is by creating a teardrop kind of effect. So you kind of hold the hot glue here for a second and pull it up. So you kind of create like a little circle and then pull up the drips at the top. So it's creating those fun little drips. So push it a little bit, and you can build upon it. So as it dries, you can create more and more teardrops on it. I really like kind of creating a longer one where I have my crease of my paper, so it hides that crease and it creates kind of like as if it's dripping a lot at that portion. Once you're at this point, you're going to add some excess glue at the top, and that's going to fill in any space from the cylinder of the paper. And then we're going to go in and use our heat gun, and it's going to help smooth everything over. So again, you're going to add more of the hot glue at the top, and that's just going to fill in any empty spaces. You're gonna make sure that your wick is centered so it's not going off to the side or anything. You can also do this when you heat up the glue again with the embossing gun. So now we're using our embossing gun to reheat the glue, and it's going to just create a more natural, smoother look to our candle. You can make sure you don't overdo this because you can create a puddle of a mess. So just enough to reheat the glue and smooth things over. And here I was centering my candle. So you make sure that you add as much glue as you want. It's really up to you. I really like the finished look of this. So you can make this more of a newer candle, a very used candle. So there's lots of drips. It's really up to you. You can build this up. So now I'm going to set this one off to the side as it cools down, and we're going to work on this one, which is a bit more finished already. We just have to start painting it. Before I paint, I'm going to use my lighter here. So I'm just going to create that look as if the wick was used. See, it's really, really cool. You don't have to create a fire here or anything, just enough for it to burn the little bit of an edge, and it looks as if the wick of the candle has been used. All right, my little Bob Rosses, we're going to start painting this. We're going to start with white, and this is going to create our initial base. You have to be patient here because you are painting glue. It can be a little bit tricky, so just create a layer, let it dry, and add more paint. The more paint you add, the more it covers up the actual hot glue on here. Well, it's not hot anymore, it's cool, but you're gonna cover this entire thing and just kind of, you know, be patient with it. Add maybe 2 or 3 layers. You do really want to be very careful when you're painting around the wick. You want to leave that natural. You don't want to cover up any of that. So just kind of leave it there, let it dry, and come back and add more paint to it. All right, so let me show you the candle that we were initially working on. It is now completely dry. You can cut this at this point, which is what I did here. But a tip that I want to give you is that maybe leave it on the paper. It's easier to work with, and it's not going to tip on you because painting these tiny things can be a little bit tricky to paint. So I would suggest leaving it on the vellum, and it's easier for you to hold on to it. All right, so we're going to continue to add more layers of white to this. You want to do this as much as you want in order to cover up any exposed areas. All right, so this one is nice and covered now, and I wanted to show you the difference. So here it is white, completely white, and the one on the right looks a little bit more grungy, a little bit more used and aged. And that's what the brown is for. You don't need the tan brown. You can use regular brown, mix it with white, and you don't need very much at all. So you don't want too much on your brush. Here I'm just kind of mixing it to dilute it a little bit. And then you kind of want your brush to be very dry, and that's what's going to create that aged look. Makes it look a little bit more waxy, a little bit more grungy. You can add brown paint to this with water. Of course, make sure you wait between layers. And this is just, again, to create that aged look, the more realistic look. And it's up to you. You can even do red. And have you ever seen those candles that looks like it's like bleeding? You can definitely do that as well with some red paint. So your imagination is, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want with these candles. I wanted to show you that you can also paint these black. I painted one in black. Here I'm just adding more brown paint. I totally forgot. I'm doing a voiceover, guys. But yeah, you can definitely age this as much as you want, but you can also paint some black, and I'll get to that here in a second. I'm just continuing to add more grunge. And like I said, this is kind of a project you can do while you're binge watching Bates Motel. That's what I was doing, or whatever you want to get you in the mood. But here is a black candle that I'm going to show you here. Come on, where are you? Oh, I was cleaning my brush. Sorry about that. All right, so here we are. I painted this one black, and I think it looks really, really cool. Of course, you don't want to leave this just black. Get a little bit of white, not too much on your brush. You really want it to be kind of dry. And I'm going to go in there and make this a little bit more waxy. So by adding the white, it looks more like wax and not just straight up like this was spray painted black. If you see, it creates more of that waxy look. Black wax, if you've ever seen, it's got like that buildup, that residue on it. So that's basically what I'm doing here. So honestly, it's up to you what you want to do with these candles. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with this one, but you see how it looks a little bit more waxy by adding that white. So it's not just black. You can definitely make it completely black. That's up to you. But let me go ahead and show you how you can add the little candles to add like that melted candle on the skull. So you're just going to take one of the smaller candles, re-add some glue at the bottom to glue it onto the skull or a pumpkin or whatever you may have. And you're going to create those same drips that you did on the candle itself, but on the skull. So again, you're going to create those teardrops and pull them up to the base of the candle. And you can add as much as you want. You can add like as if it's melting all over the skull and make it really, really grungy and used. So it's really up to you. But I think this is really, really neat. I mean, I personally love adding a ton of drips to this. But definitely check out Tami's blog. She also shows some awesome pictures of a project she created. I will be linking it down below in the description, as well as her Instagram. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this. These are really, really fun to make. You can spend a whole afternoon making a whole bunch of these candles, and it's perfect for the spooky time. I can't wait to see what you guys create with these. But look how cool that is. And then you're just gonna go in there and with a small brush, paint these candles whatever color you want them to be. But that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Huge thank you to Tami B for giving me that green light to show you guys this process. And I am so excited for Catoween 2020. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you check out Tami's blog and Instagram down below. She has so many amazing, amazing makes and ideas and tutorials. But again, guys, I'm so excited. We are kicking off Catoween 2020. I hope you guys are all having a spooky, spooky season, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.